When the China virus reached our shores 3 years ago, the World Health Organization disgracefully covered the tracks of the Chinese Communist Party every single step of the way. For this reason, it was my great honor to terminate America's relationship with the World Health Organization. The United States was paying.
Yeah, you know, it's kind of crazy. People don't realize this, but he. Oh, where'd you go? Oh, you're back there. You're
Oh,
back on the road or whatever.
Yeah, I'm here
Oh
though.
yeah, cool. Oh yeah. No, I was just gonna say, you know, Trump is talking about when China attacked us. He didn't finish the sentence with, I ordered Boeing to make a bunch of ventilators so that we could kill people in the hospital.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's just it. I mean, he's a heck of a talker. He's good at playing both sides.
Oh yeah.
And that's why we have to analyze things in dig, boy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it comes back to work speed. There's handing that down. That was
Brother, I gotta interrupt you. It's the connection's really bad. We can't even understand a single word. It's all cool. It's all cool. I'll just put it back on again, and when you get some stable reception there, let me know.
okay.
This is their tactic, right? Just compare how much better they are than the bad guys. It's always about the other guys being bad. That's the thing. Be so scared about what would have happened if they would have kept on going. Thank you so much for your support.
All right, I'm home.
Oh, cool.
I'll see if I can go log on to the computer for a little bit here.
Oh, yeah.
Don't forget to share your screen. Doesn't look like that's running at the
And
moment.
a little deeper,
There we go.
and it's going to matter.
The Germans need to save their country and are rushing towards a snap general election in the new year to shuffle some political deck chairs about. The great German dream is over. Its government has collapsed and its economy is fast stagnating. It relied on cheap energy to function as an export-based economy, and that is all unraveling. It must quickly reinvent itself or
This
shrivel.
guy's head doesn't
It's
move.
got to the point that there will be an early general election in Germany on the 23rd of February 2025.
I've never
with
seen
the
anybody
backdrop
so
of a
rigid on
failing
the
German
camera.
economy, a tumbling euro, and a collapse in German business confidence. This comes after the smallest member of the three-party coalition, the pro-business Free Democrats, or FD, walked away from the coalition because the Chancellor Olaf Scholz chose net zero over business growth by firing the FD finance minister. Now get this, Scholz wanted a later election in March, and the German Electoral Commission agreed with him, saying that a potential paper and printer shortage in February could be a problem. What the actual? Well, don't let Starmer know. Sounds like the sort of excuse commies use to prevent elections. So we should be seeing a vote of confidence in Scholz's government in December, on or about the 16th, which he will of course lose. And then elections in February, which he will of course lose. But if those ahead in the polls, the CDU-CSU alliance and its leaders are as woke and net zero as Scholz is, then nothing will change for Germany. It will be more of the establishment uniparty stuff of chasing net zero and DEI policies. But the big unknown will be by how much the so-called far-right Alternative for Germany, or AFD, increases in the polls. Now, the AFD is currently in second place, but the likely winners of the election, the CDU-CSU
I wonder if
alliance,
that guy uses
won't
AI.
get enough seats for a
I've never
majority due
seen
to
someone hold
PR,
so still.
and will therefore
It
need
sure
a
looks like it,
third
doesn't it?
partner to form a majority government. But the CDU-CSU alliance will
Something seems
not
unnatural.
invite in the second place in the polls AFD into their club. Just another example of the left and the so-called centre-to-centre right holding on to power against the concept of PR by creating a government that does not reflect the result of the vote. Anyway, it seems that the election of Donald Trump is at the heart of Germany's woes, as well as those of the Eurozone. Because immediately after Trump's victory, down went the euro against the dollar, and also tellingly against the pound. Any hope that a Trump win would halt the Russia-Ukraine war, so allowing Germany to get back to cheap Russian energy business as usual, has been shattered by Trump's talk of America first tariffs against imports.
There we are.
What can Germany, as the EU manufacturing and export engine room, now do to save itself and potentially the wider European Union?
So there you have it in a nutshell. We kind of sound familiar, guys. An economy
definitely
in
has a
tatters
teleprompter.
already, and now
Yeah.
Trump's going to come in, and we're going to cheer for America, and great for them. But what's it going to be like for us here in Canada? It's going to be quite a lot different. But it's going to look a lot more like Germany than it's going to look like America. And with all of these announcements and all of these people,
I'm happy for. How can you not be incredibly happy for our American family and friends, and not kind of wants to be there with them, right? So it's gonna get tough over the next little while, and this little clip from Jasmine Lane says a lot in a minute.
It's unnecessary era. Okay. The amount of construction and how long it takes for roads to be completed, unnecessary. The cost of groceries, unnecessary. How mean people have gotten with each other, unnecessary. Two-tiered policing, also unnecessary. The wait time and backlog for doctors and surgeries, completely unnecessary. The spike in violent crime, unnecessary.
No, it's
Food
all
bank
necessary.
usage, unnecessary.
All of it's necessary because you refused to do what we've been telling you to do for 2,400 years. We told you that democracy always ends up this way. So it is most certainly necessary. It is most certainly necessary that this happens to you because you didn't listen to us. So you didn't listen to us. That's fine. It's like when your kid is 2-3 years old and they insist on putting their hand on the burner, and you tell them, "Don't put your hand on the burner. Don't do that. That's gonna hurt." And then when they go put their hand on the burner, I mean, at what point do you say, "I told you that was going to happen"? Especially after they go and put their hand on the burner repeatedly, year after term after term after term. Every day these guys are in office is by your consent. If they are screwing you over, stop bending over. Like, this is what world did you come from where you didn't learn that you have self-responsibility over your actions? And by passing up that responsibility over your actions, you will be dictated. Like, how did this not, this is why I have a difficult time interacting with humanity. It's true. It's true. Dogs are better than people. They make way more sense. Like, I'm just so sick and tired of people saying, "Oh, this was unnecessary." No, you got exactly what you deserved for calling us conspiracy theorists when we told you it was probably not a good idea to vote for people who uphold oaths to foreign unelected interests. You could have done something then, but you didn't. And so now you're just suffering natural consequences that are necessary in order for you to hit rock bottom hard enough that you will try anything else. Very necessary. Ugh.
The system has to break and collapse before we can start something fresh and anew.
That's why when Trudeau was elected, I was so happy. I was so happy that he got elected. I didn't vote, but I was happy he got elected because I was so sick and tired of people prolonging the destruction of the country. Dude, this is great. I said, this is awesome. Finally, the people will be destroying their country with their government so that we can finally go and do something else that actually works.
That's why I just made the comment. Can we just say that we need the collapse to happen to bring in change?
Nice. Well said. Yeah.
$350. That's for just a little short list. Did you guys put all of that in your shopping cart and agree to pick up the tab, or for your kids to pick up the tab, or your great grandkids to pick up the tab? Because at the end of the day, this is where it's got us.
The Honourable Member for Bellechasse-Lévis. Madam Speaker, The Economist has revealed that Canada is actually poorer than Alabama.
Canada's poorer than Alabama.
Yeah.
Fourth poorest state in the U.S.
It's all fiat.
The whole country.
But under this liberal
It's all
government,
fiat.
450 billion investment dollars have left Canada and gone to the U.S. which has a faster growing economy than ours. So, will the Prime Minister slash taxes to support Canadian families? It's very simple. It's not hard to do, Madam Speaker.
Don't forget to share your screen again, Paul.
Oh, thanks.
And that's the end of a very short story. $450 billion is running away from Canada to the United States. Again, cheers for America. Cheers to America. And yeah, where are we ultimately going to end up? Because Trump didn't campaign on let's make Canada great again. The diplomatic relations between our two countries have never been so fractured. Trump knows exactly what's going on up here. And, you know, when your enemy is busy destroying themselves, you let them. So for everybody that's got all their eyes on the United States and that's they think that it's going to save Canada, I have questions. I have questions. All right, next
I have
clip.
to say this because otherwise the guy behind the camera there doesn't get paid. Please keep us on the air, donate, and subscribe. Ask your friends to subscribe.
Thank you, Mr.
And
LeDrew.
my guest today is Catherine Swift. She is the president of
the Coalition of Concerned Manufacturers and Businesses of Canada.
a long name,
It
but it's a great organization, and you have wonderful members concerned. And we'll deal with this another time. Now, if there's Trump in the office and tariffs, it's going to be a big deal. But for right now, a little humor to start with, because you wrote a terrific article in your news magazine, and essentially it was, you don't want to be a friend of Justin Trudeau.
Investors.
No, it actually was entitled The Trudeau Kiss of Death. And I came upon it just thinking of a lot of people who had often quite stellar reputations prior to having some kind of liaison, some kind of appointment or whatever by Trudeau. And then now you don't even hear of them anymore. They've sort of crawled off into, back under a rock or something.
Examples. I know there's some economists, there's military leaders.
For starters, what about David Johnson? There's an accomplished fellow, Cambridge, Harvard grad, dean of law at a couple of law schools.
Governor General.
Known to be a liberal, but who appoints him Governor General? Stephen Harper, a conservative. And then the kiss of death comes along from Trudeau. He appoints him special rapporteur. And Johnson, kowtowing to what he knew Trudeau wanted, said, we don't need a public inquiry into Chinese election interference, when everybody knew we needed a public inquiry. So he looks terrible now.
Yep.
Long time reputation ruined. And do we hear about him now?
It is ruined.
We do not. No, it is
himself,
ruined.
and because he accepted Trudeau's invitation.
Absolutely.
And he should have done better, but I guess Trudeau was persuasive and he wanted to help.
Family friend.
Reputation with who? Reputation with who? Because it doesn't matter what the people want. That is what people are not. They're still missing the point. These people take oaths to uphold the interests of foreign unelected interests. Plain and simple. This isn't my opinion. This is fact. It is in their oath of office. Go and read it. It is not to the people. They aren't even supposed to serve the people. And the moment that they were to do, if they were to do something to serve the people, and the people, if they were supposed to serve the people, when the people take those politicians to account in court, the judges would not say that politicians are not required to uphold their constituents' views or represent them. That happened in Canada. So if we're supposed to be, again, these people are operating in the context that government is supposed to be good. No, government is corrupt. That's why it's called government. Take the etymology of the word. It literally means to govern thoughts. Govern the mind. That's what government means. Like, you cannot come up with a more distorted, perverted system of governance than democracy. You can't. You actually can't, because it always devolves to oligarchy and tyranny. It always does. That's what our 2,400 years of trying to communicate this to people has that's what the efforts have been for, just to stop people from continuing to vote for people who end up stabbing them with 5th generation warfare weapons. Like, of course that's going to happen. Of course you're going to consent to all of this. Why? Because you think the government is there for your benefit. No, it's not. It's there to be your slave. You are the majesty of your world, and you must rule it as such. You don't have them make the calls. You make sure they submit and bow down to you. And if they don't, you trample them under a heavy horse. You're the majesty, and anything they do to work against you is called high treason. And in the Commonwealth nations, the punishment for that is still boilerplate law, hung by the neck till dead. And so the people are responsible for all these bad things that people are blaming politicians for. And it's just, it aggravates me to no end. Their rant done. Yeah, go ahead. You say something.
Well, it is. It's just it's utter madness. I was talking to my, a friend of mine today. We went for coffee, and he's a very religious man. I would say he's far more open-minded than most, because he looks at the Bible as an instruction manual. Okay, and I said, I have a different outlook on the Bible. I said, I don't necessarily look at it as an instruction manual, but more as something to gain wisdom from. Mm-hmm. Okay, we glean from it, and we use our own conscience to move our lives forward.
Yes.
To use it as an instruction manual, we still have to read everything that gets put in front of us and use our own intellect to make decisions. Mm-hmm. That is what God would want us to do. Otherwise, why would we have a conscience? Then we would just simply be an AI robot. We're not here to just we're not here to, okay, in some cases, yes, we're here to serve others, but mostly we're here to serve each other. We're not meant to be slaves. That's not what okay, if you want to take the Bible seriously, look at how slavery was frowned upon in the Bible. They don't want that. God doesn't want that for us. Mm-hmm. So, we got to pull our heads out of our ass here and start thinking constructively.
Yes, there are other ways of doing this, and it's interesting that you bring up the Bible. I had a conversation earlier this week with some people about this. What I see is a sliding scale. Like, there's a spectrum, and it doesn't matter where you are on the spectrum. You actually believe the same thing. Some people on one side of the spectrum, they believe that government should be the authority over their lives. And then there's another spectrum where people think that God should be the governing authority over their lives. And typically speaking, we see this manifest in left and right wings. Left being they want to see government be that almighty being, and right usually wanting God to be that almighty being. Well, the addiction is actually the same, and it is an addiction because we as people in our shadow, when we are in a state of fear, we automatically gravitate towards solutions that sound like, are you ready? And here we go. This is that spectrum that sound like, I want there to be an almighty force that can make my neighbor behave in such a way where I feel their actions will not bring danger to me. And that addiction is fed, spoon-fed, every single time people go and watch the media, mainstream or otherwise, because they're programmed with the belief that their neighbor has the capacity to make decisions that create the possibility for the people to experience loss, right? They fear like their neighbor could take something from them. That is the root of the problem. That is that root fear that gets them to say, I bet, and the analogy is perfect. Lysander Spooner gave this analogy. Basically, voting is like going into a room and shooting bullets at each other, because each vote is a bullet, and what you're trying to do is get your victor to enforce their will, which hopefully is within the realm of your will as well, upon your neighbor. No, you're not allowed to live that way. Why? Well, because we voted. Oh, no. You're going to need to do this and this and this in order to be a functional member of society. Why? Well, because there's a pandemic.
Well, and here's another interesting point, right? The liberal, if they don't like something on the radio, they want to have that channel shut down. The conservative will just change the channel.
Right.
So we're and one thing that happened today, and I don't know if you follow this, but Alex Jones had his company sold out from underneath him today. Shut down. Done. That's it.
Yep.
With the Sandy Hook thing, right? Regardless of how someone feels about it, it's still wrong. The First Amendment, you know what? We all should have the ability to have these conversations. Face to face, online, doesn't matter. We should be able to talk and have these conversations. So that alone proves everything that's going on, they don't care. So we need to, we need to be able to stand together, stop living in fear with your neighbor, go start having constructive conversations with them. If you don't understand what your neighbor's up to, what he's doing, go find out, go figure it out, and let's build alliances. That's how you change this dynamic of what's going on right now.
Yes. Localism trumps globalism every time. And the moment that you are getting into the mentality that whoever sits on that throne in that random khaki-colored building, that somehow that's going to magically affect your purpose in life, is the mindset that globalism needs for you to continue going back to the booths to vote. Stop. Bring your consensus as a community to yourselves as a community. Establish your governance that way. We do it all the time. In fact, that's what America did. That's what the whole American experiment was about. That's what they started in 1776. They decentralized governance like that.
Yeah.
That's all they did.
Did you see that did you see that video yesterday that was out where that one guy was basically calling people in parliament a whole bunch of idiots, and then they forced him out based on him calling them a bunch of idiots, and he had his lawyer there at the same time, and so they actually forced him out of the building, and then his lawyer comes up and he's like, so based on the fact that we all have free speech, you're actually not allowed to kick this man out of parliament. And he said, for this reason, here's your lawsuit, here's your lawsuit, here's your lawsuit, here's your lawsuit, and here's your lawsuit.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is what we need to do in society today.
Yes.
Understand that you have individual rights. And you're not an individual. You are a man. You're not subservient to the government. They are subservient to you. So if they think that they can push you out of a building, push back. They're not that big. This is why we have to build in numbers locally.
That's right. You build that high trust society within your community. You don't do it at a voting booth.
Well, and here again, within our community, if we develop a marketplace that we're not using the Canadian dollar, and this is what I brought up at my coffee meeting today, if we stop using the Canadian dollar, we are not subject to their terms and conditions at whether we're in the government building or not. And they will become irrelevant in our local economy. We just have to change our rules and
That's
what
right.
we're doing.
That's right.
It's
And
that
that
simple.
gets determined by individual contract. And individual, the contract law is over and above. It has far more precedence than the local legislative assemblies and whatever fictional legalese they come up with. You know,
And
it's powerful when you start
yeah.
realizing just how much freedom you already have. That you just haven't been exercising it. That's all. It's not like we have to go and take the government down. No. In fact, that's probably going to create more problems, because once there's conflict, that's when they can justify their actions on the global stage of quelling you.
Well, and the way to look at this is picture yourself doing road construction. Okay, we right now, you and I, okay, we're relatively local to Edmonton.
Mhm.
So out here we have Highway 16A and Highway 16. The beauty is, okay, let's say Highway 16A is corrupt. Shut it down. We build Highway 16. Now you're building two parallel structures. One is shut
Mhm.
down. You have the other one to operate. And that's exactly what I know you want to teach people to do. Build a parallel society, so when the other one starts having problems, it will just become obsolete and the other one is already standing.
In place to pick up where it drops off. Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's easy to do. That's the thing, is that it's funny because what's going on right now, and this is why whenever I go into market analysis, which by the way, 7:15 in the morning, everybody, market analysis, I talk about the gaming industry and how it's actually leading this path. And people think I'm absolutely nuts, and I'm not crazy, but it's true that the same governance that's being brought forward in a decentralized autonomous organizations that are in all of these decentralized autonomous organizations that are being employed and deployed using on-chain governance, their projects are excelling past beyond anything that we've ever done with an old, top-down governance model, and they're accomplishing miracles. And now it's just to the point where, with blockchain and everything that is possible there, people can create their own governance in a heartbeat. Literally, it takes nothing. Go to clarity.community. It's a website, clarity.community, and you can go ahead and start your own country right there. Just go ahead. You can start there, get your people together, and start forming governance. And all that takes is constitution. All right. So here's our constitution, and this is how we're bringing our resources together as a community to fund our infrastructure and do all the things that our government's supposed to do, and they don't. Why? Because instead of doing that, they take the money and they go and commit genocide in foreign nations. Anyway. Yeah, no, like this is it. I love our chats. We actually get right down to the root of issues,
Yeah.
Okay, let's bring back, see what he's talking about next here.
An alphabet mafia refugee program that will sponsor these alphabet migrants.
Oh yeah, he's talking about this. It's just population replacement
for a year.
That's another thing too.
Thank you, WEF, Klaus Schwab,
Yes,
Justin Trudeau, and Pierre Poilievre. Yes, he gets included in that.
Yeah.
Where does that leave us? All right, I'm actually going to use a 6-minute CBC.
Yeah, it brings up something else that is really important for people to recognize. The whole reason why the LGBTQ movement is brought forward and has been for decades upon decades, and it's just taken different forms. LGBTQ today is just that Baalistic, public fornication. Happened in Germany, right, during the Weimar period. That was all part of the Bolshevik infiltration of Germany to destabilize its society. That's why Hitler got rid of it. That's why he burnt the books in the libraries that were teaching kids pornography. Like, hello, no, but no, that, let's not talk about that too much because it makes it sound like he might have been onto something. So then we'll just ignore that part of history for a second, because when it comes right down to it, the reason why they do this is to bring people to the point where they lose sense of their identity. You see, men and women have sovereign authority over governments. That's not my opinion. That's natural law.
Yep.
Men and women have sovereignty over governments. So the quickest way to get people to admit that they are not sovereign people is to start identifying themselves as something other than men and women. That's why they teach gender confusion. That's why that's why they're pushing all the gender theory stuff, is because the more they can get people to admit that they're not a man or a woman, the more they are admitting they have no jurisdiction over the government. But again, people don't know the law, and so then they go around running around identifying themselves as persons, which is the property of the state. Again, the person is an androgynous corporate fiction. Just another non-gender. You're non-binary, by the way. Your person is non-binary. It's labeled M or F, male or female, but the corporation, the person that you identify yourself, that has no gender. Not according to the government.
Seeing the Trump administration hasn't even taken office, and already we see the incoming head of the czar for border security and immigration enforcement, Tom Homan. He's already sending the message to the major mayors of sanctuary cities across the United States. I understand that there's already a move afoot to look at how to coordinate sheriffs to assist in these efforts and other law enforcement. I have no doubt that the United States will make an attempt, and a serious attempt, to do mass deportations. And our government absolutely is not prepared.
No, they're not prepared. What do you mean they're not prepared? They've been preparing for this for a long time. They're totally prepared for this. This is what they've been preparing for, you people.
Just look at, even what is it? Even things for COVID, right? There's a whole bunch of registrations for the COVID vaccines. Dating years ago.
Yeah,
it's no secret. It's all out there.
I think it was the last show too. I was talking about how the migrant crisis started when Trudeau was elected. Well, in fact, actually, I would say that the migrant crisis had already begun, and it was most prominently the biggest issue of concern that I was shouting from the rooftops in 2016 or 15 or whenever it was that he was campaigning.
Yeah,
that's when the migrant crisis started, folks. It started then, and the reason why it was able to be started then was because you refused to listen to the voices of reason for the last 2,400 years that have been telling you democracy is not that great of an idea, it always ends in disaster. And sure enough, now we're having this migrant crisis all of a sudden on every single headline, and it's like, wait a second, now you care about it? After the fact, after this crisis has already been peaked, after it was just a few weeks ago, the government said that they were going to hold off on bringing more migrants in. They just finished saying that they were going to stop holding on. They were going to hold it off now. Oh, let's put a pause on this. Well, this isn't a pause. But of course it's not a pause. It's the agenda. It is a repopulation agenda. This isn't something coming out of the blue, folks. It's like the 15-minute cities. Oh, we're going to sell these 15-minute cities. Yeah, listen, if you didn't want a 15-minute city, then you should have done something about that back in the 90s when the infrastructure budgets for ring roads got approved for all of the all of the smart cities that are coming, that are being brought online. That's when the 15-minute city infrastructure budget was approved. It was all part of Agenda 21. Oh, you didn't know about that. Okay, no problem. You didn't know about it. Well, now you do. So don't go back to the voting booth, okay? Because that doesn't help. Obviously, you should probably try something, anything else. And whatever it is that you do, I can guarantee you can fuck it up. And it will still be a better result than what is being done right now by people who are deliberately trying to destroy you. That's it. That's all I got to say about that.
And I gotta sign off because I gotta go get Radka. So I'll
okay,
chat with
cool.
you in a bit.
Yeah, you bet. Awesome.
Okay, have a good night.
Take care. Yeah. Let's keep going for a while. Maybe I'll get mad about something else too, eh?
And driving them to Canada in that advance of the Trump migration crackdown. We are not prepared for what's coming. Right away. It's going to be absolutely over freaking whelming. And how and who and is anybody going to deal with any of this? Exactly. This is they're creating a must-have situation to bring in their biometrics by allowing the border to be overrun. And I saw some people were talking about this yesterday. Another, it's like escalating drug busts. Another massive drug bust linked to the cartels in Mexico. What were we talking about just last week about who's coming? What's coming? At least they've got these ones. How many are they not getting, right? Canada has everything a CEO would love. Absolutely. There's a lot of path to a lot of grift going on in Canada. They can print money and put it in their own pockets as fast as they can conjure up something ridiculous to spend it on, right? That's literally what it boils down to here in Canada. Yeah. So even CBC is talking about this one here. So, that's what we were talking about. When it gets tougher in the US, they can't run for the Mexican border anymore because Trump's going to shut that one down. But here we are. This is what's coming our way in Canada.
Global News has learned, tucked away in this multi-million-dollar Surrey neighborhood is a home, allegedly the headquarters of a criminal syndicate connected to Mexican drug cartels. RCMP issuing a search warrant at the heavily fortified residence in September.
So we have a number of different types of firearms, rifles, shotguns.
23 firearms, thousands of rounds of ammunition, bags of illicit drugs, cash, and multiple Mexican passports seized by RCMP federal policing investigators after a 3-year-long investigation.
Well, I'm seeing
The
this
plot
as,
to import
again, I'm seeing this right now. This is, this is just because I've been watching these marketing campaigns put on by our governments for a long time. They're talking about how terrible this is becoming. And it's like, no, this isn't becoming terrible. This is already terrible. And the only reason we're talking about it now instead of when it was a problem, this is just the symptom. This is not the problem. This is the symptom of the problem. The only reason they're talking about it now is because they're trying to get people to lean in a certain direction. Where? Right. They're trying to get people to move right. I mean, Biden is to Trump what Trudeau is to Poilievre. The only reason why Biden and Trudeau even have any value to the deep state is because they are so pathetic that the people were basically begging for the next puppet. So what they're doing with this type of propaganda, talking about now how this is such a big problem, what they're doing is that they're trying to agitate the problem. So the problem being people are divided. So they're trying to agitate the problem to get people to lean more right. The only reason anybody gets elected, selected, I should say, is because the deep state needs, like, someone as pathetic as Trudeau, or as literally incapable of forming a complete sentence as Biden. The only reason why the elites put people like that in positions where they could be elected is because they're trying to get people to vote for someone else next term. And they did it. It was perfectly executed. I saw it coming from a mile away. I knew it was going to be a landslide with Trump, and they're trying to make the same thing happen. The elites, the globalists, they're trying to make the same thing happen in Canada. And so they're agitating the migrant crisis as a talking point, as if it was important now. As if it was a problem. It's not a problem. The migrant crisis is what we're experiencing now as a migrant crisis is the symptom of the problem that started decades ago. Decades. And people refuse to look at it. They're still going back and focusing on these distractions. Yes, is it an important issue? Yes, it is a very important issue, but it's not important when it's time to deport them. Okay? Like, just go and deport them and get it over with. Oh, your government won't do that for you? Okay, go and start up a government and make it happen. Like, this is not rocket science, folks. People have been starting nations for thousands of years. And most recently, we have a great example from 1776, when the American experiment got started and they decentralized governance down to the community level. Guess who was in charge of the security for the community? Guess who was the last guardian of the Constitution for the people? It was the sheriffs. It was the sheriffs. We have everything we need to do the same thing and make it even better. I mean, we can make so many improvements, because clearly the Constitution has failed, right? I mean, if it was a good Constitution, it would have prevented this from happening, right? So create a Constitution that covers the situation. Deport these people from your communities. And let's move on. Oh, that takes a lot of work. You're right. I'm sorry. You know what? Let's just do the easy thing and vote for the next psychopath that's on the ballot, which just gets placed there by the elites, waiting for you to be tired enough with the other guys so that you can pick the next one. And they just escalate their governance over you. The left wing gets a little bit more governance. When the right wing takes over, they don't take away the governance of the left wing that the left wing established. They just add to other levels of governance over top. And then these guys add more, and then they add more, and then finally you just have this great big government that doesn't need to exist at all. Anyway, I'm ranting now. I just feel like it. So thanks a lot for joining me. I'm going to close things off here. I've got other things to do this evening here, and I look forward to market analysis tomorrow morning, 7 o'clock, 7:15. Be glad to see you there, and I'll be actually taking a few days off from doing these live shows in the evening, just because I got to make a road trip. So again, thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll be back on the evenings. We'll be starting back again on Wednesday or Thursday, but I'll send a note in my Telegram. And if you want a link to Telegram, just go ahead to my website, manknownasppaul.com/connect. Let me put up a banner here, and then you feel free to go connect with me there. Because I've got, set up a meeting with me if you want. You can, there we go. Set up a meeting with me there if you want. You can come and join me on the inside our backstage here, so we can chat live, and even for the market analysis as well. But on that page there, you'd be able to go and click on all the different ways you can connect with me on X, Telegram, and then you can set up an appointment with me, and we can pioneer this fourth industrial revolution together and take back the Great Reset, make sure we can keep everything and be happy. Everybody have a good night. Talk to you later.